Hi guys, welcome to a new series of videos. In this series we are going to be showing you how to improve the looks, performance and reliability of your first car on an ultra tight budget. Let's go and take a look.
Are you listening? Damn.
The first thing we're going to do is give the car a full service, and there are two reasons why. The first is that my friend Rob, who owned the car for the last 10 years, I asked him when the car was last serviced, and he said to me, he said, well, I have had it MOT'd every year. That tells me it hasn't been done, has it, Rob? But he has been checking his oil and topping it up as and where necessary, so that is a good thing. Now, reason number two is that you can get 5 litres of oil, a Bosch air filter, a Bosch oil filter, and 4 NGK spark plugs for 40 quid. And at that sort of price point, why are we not getting our cars serviced? Because this can all be done at home. We're going to show you how, and then you can fully service your car for £40. And that should help it last a little bit longer, run a bit nicer, and always round make it pretty sweet. Let's get into it. The first thing we're going to need to do is jack the car up and then support it safely with 2 axle stands. Right, thanks for your help, Rich. Good stuff. That's got 2 axle stands under it now, and we've just popped the jack under it. Just taking a tiny little bit of weight just as a fail-safe, just in case. It's perfectly secure, it's not going anywhere. So it's time to dive underneath, whip out the sump plug into a little catch tank, drain the oil, and then when it's drained down, we'll have a little look at a leaky rocker cover gasket on the top at the same time. For those of you who are going to be attempting this at home, T45 Torx bit. It's tight, isn't it?
That hasn't been off in 10 years.
Oh yeah, of course. How could I forget? Wow. Perfect. Whilst that's draining down, we're going to have a quick look at our leaky rocker cover. Come closer, have a little look. It's horrible. It's managed to leak so badly from the top of the engine that it's leaking all the way down, all over everything, all over the front of the engine, starter motor, all off the sump, and all over the floor. So for the sake of pulling it off and re-gasketing it at this stage, for next to nothing, it's very much worth doing, because we don't want to put all that new oil in and then throw it all over the floor, because that would be silly. Right, rocker cover removed, and now it's time to have a little look inside of an engine that's not potentially been serviced in 10 years. Even the camera don't want to focus because it just doesn't want to look. It's not a pretty sight, guys. It's really not pretty. I mean, look at the sort of build up that we're getting around these nuts and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, see if we can pull that off. There you go. That is what happens when you don't service your engine for 10 years. Right, it's time to reseal that cover, pop it back on, put the sump plug back in, and then we'll put some new fresh oil in it. Right, the rocker cover is back on and resealed and leak free, and now before we put some more oil in, we need to remove the oil filter. All you will need is a 32mm socket and an extension. In all fairness, the oil filter doesn't look too bad, so we can just pop the old one out the cap, replace the O-ring, bit of oil on it to help it seal, new oil filter can go in, and then we can pop it back in, use a torque wrench and torque it to 25 Newton meters. Job done. It's now time to replace the spark plugs. Spark plug removal tool, and then simply remove your spark plugs. I'll then give you my top tip for reinstalling. Right, that's the first plug removed, and in all fairness, it doesn't look too bad. Now, from a refitting point of view, this has got a lovely rubber boot inside of it so that it holds the spark plug for you. However, when you wind it into the head and then remove the tool, the rubber comes off. You've then got to fish down inside the head and try and get it out. My top tip is to remove the rubber so that the spark plug will fall out nice and easily. Get yourself a magnetic pen, drop the spark plug inside the head, and then you can get onto the spark plug. Until you feel resistance, and then quarter of a turn to tighten, and then you can remove your tool. Job done. So now that we've replaced our 4 spark plugs, we can refit our coil packs, our 2 T30 Torx bolts, tighten them down, reconnect our electrics on the end, pop our lid on, and then we can move on to our air filter. It's now time to replace the air filter. 4 simple Phillips headed screws, but for access we need to remove this clip at the back and the 2 7mm Jubilee clips, and then remove this hose with the mass airflow sensor connected. You can leave the cable on and then you can remove that out the way, and then the airbox just hinges out, removes, and then you can have a look what a 10-year-old air filter really looks like. Ta-da! Not the cleanest thing in the world, especially when you compare it to the new one. Reverse the process to fit the new one, and then we're nearly done. Right, sump plug back in, car back on the floor, 4 spark plugs, air filter, oil filter, everything buttoned back up. The last thing we need to do is add our oil. I like to start with about 4 litres and then pull the dipstick, check the level, and then wait a few minutes in between dips and checks, and then you want to end up on about the maximum mark. And we can then refit the oil filler lid, start the car up, check for any obvious leaks, and then we can go from there. And if you've got a selection of oils in your garage, always make sure you label your bottle so you know what car it's for. The last thing to do in the engine bay is to check and top up your coolant. Make sure you check it when it's cold and top it up to the max. I like to use Resto because, as it says on the bottle, it mixes with any coolant. please, please, please don't use water, because coolant antifreeze is in your engine for a reason. And if you run water all the time, it won't be long before you get some long-term problems. The last thing to do whilst we're on the theme of ultra low budget things you can do to your car mechanically is check your tyre pressures. I've had a little look online and this car should run 26 psi all round. And it's low, as they always are. Check your tyre pressures, it doesn't cost you anything, and it will improve the way your car drives, handles, feels, and even help your fuel economy. And if you're on an ultra budget, make sure you go to Sainsbury's, because Sainsbury's let you use air for free. Be savvy. So there we are, service and maintenance complete, and all for an ultra low budget. So now hopefully that Vauxhall Corsa can go on for many more years of happy, reliable motoring. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more from us, don't forget to subscribe. Have a wonderful week. We'll be seeing you again very soon. Take care. A Bosch oil filter and a Bosch. That was an air filter. Education today, innit? I've learned that Holford's and Vauxhall both make half decent kit.
I do.
Well, apart from the fact that this is piss and oil absolutely everywhere. It's almost like it was designed to be taken apart. Vauxhall, if you're listening, James Gear likes this. Good stuff.
John Cryer would like this.
Oh, John would be beside himself. Do you remember that time that John Cryer bought that Vauxhall Monaro? What happened to it?
Everything broke.
Oh, the camshaft fell out, didn't it? Yeah.
And the water pump went.
Yeah, there we go. And then the radiator.
Yeah.
And needed new brakes. Yeah. But it was so low miles.
Yeah, but it was an Australian Vauxhall.
Bloody Aussies.
Not an actual Vauxhall.
Yes. Mingy. Mingy moo. That is really, really horrible, isn't it?